Hi beautiful people, my name is Amberine and today I will show you on how to make the pastry of the samosas. So sit back and enjoy my video and make sure you do make lots of notes and I hope it inspires you. Thank you. This is a very easy and a very basic recipe to follow. So if you are a beginner and you've never ever made a samosa before, trust me, I can guarantee you, once you follow this recipe, once you follow this video, you'll be a master chef. You won't have any problems in making samosas ever again. So please follow this video and I really hope you do enjoy it. Okay, these are my ingredients. You'll need 1 cup of oil, that's any oil. You need some plain flour. I've used 1.5 kg of plain flour. 1.5 teaspoon of salt. I'm using the Himalayan pink salt. And you'll need some jeera. I've put in 2 tablespoons of jeera, that's cumin seeds, and you'll need some water. I've got about 1 litre water there. So it all depends on how thick you want your consistency, how doughy you want it. You don't want to keep it too runny and you don't want to keep the dough too hard. I've got myself a fairly large bowl. To begin with, I'm going to add in my flour. So I'll be putting in 1.5 kg of plain flour. The reason I use plain flour, I find the samosas quite crunchy and very bubbly. You can use self-raising, but I find with the self-raising it's a lot more softer, the samosa. So if you want your samosas crunchy, then do opt for the plain flour. And then I'll be adding in my salt. I'll be adding in 1.5 teaspoon of salt. And then I'm adding in my cumin seeds, also known as jeera. And then I'm going to mix everything together. Make sure you mix it really well. Once I feel it's mixed in well, I am adding in my oil. Okay, mix the oil in really well. And now what you're going to do is you're going to air all your flour out like this. The more you air your flour out, the more bubbles you get in your samosa. So make sure you mix in your oil really well. So you'll probably be doing this for at least 10 minutes, I'd say. Okay, that's mixed in nice. So now I'm adding in some water. You don't put all the water in one go. You put the water in gradually. So I've only put a small amount of water and now I'm going to mix that. So I'll be adding in the water slowly and gradually. Some people do add in ajwain in their samosas, that's caron seeds, and that's on your own preference. But I prefer adding in the jeera seeds. I mean, you don't have to add in the jeera seeds if you don't want. You can keep your samosas plain. That's your own choice. So make sure you mix the flour in really well. Rotate your bowl round whilst you're mixing. I normally make samosas once a year. That's just before Ramadan. A week before Ramadan I make my samosas. That's the only time I make samosas, because in Ramadan obviously you're fasting all day and you want to eat something special. So samosas we normally make as a starter. So you can see the dough is forming really nicely. Okay, and this is a consistency of my samosas. You don't want to over mix it. So now what I'm going to do is I'll be placing my dough into a plate like this, and then I'll be washing my bowl, and then I'll be putting the dough back into the bowl. I know at the moment it just looks a bit gobbledygook, but trust me, once it's made it will look very nice. Right, I'll be placing the dough, which is also known as atta, back into the bowl like this. So press it all down. Make sure you've got a bit of water on your palms whilst you are pressing the dough down like this. Okay, now you get a tea towel and wet the tea towel, and because you want your tea towel damp, and you're going to press it down over the dough like this. This is so your dough does not dry out. And you're going to let your dough rest for at least an hour. If you are in a rush, half an hour is sufficient. Okay, now I am ready to make my glue for my samosas. So I've got a little bit of flour. I'm using plain flour yet again. 1 cup should be enough. I made about, for 1.5 kg, I made about 75 samosas. It entirely depends on the size of the samosas you're making. Obviously, if you're making a bigger size samosa, you'll be making less samosas in quantity. So I've added in some water into my flour, and I shall be mixing that until I've got a nice gluey consistency. You don't want your glue to be too runny, and you don't want it too thick either, so it has to be in between. So you mix it really well until all the lumps are up completely. Okay, this is what the consistency of the glue should be looking like. Very gloopy. Okay, now that is ready. And once you've mixed it, just place it in the fridge or on the side, and then we're going to get cracking with the next bit. Okay, my dough is ready. I've come back after an hour. And look, you can already see the change in the dough. Okay, when you mix your dough now, you're going to knead it again, but you're not going to knead it too much, because if you over knead your dough, it becomes very rubbery and it'll be very hard to make your samosas. So you only knead it for a few minutes, not too long. Okay, whilst you are kneading, make sure your hands are wet. See, look how nice and soft the outer is. Okay, my dough is ready, and now I am ready to make my samosas. Make sure your surfaces are clean before you make the samosas, and wash your hands really well too. So you're going to sprinkle a bit of flour onto your surface. I normally have a box to make my chapatis in, but when I make samosas, I like to have the open space. So you need to work out whether you want to make big samosas or small samosas. So I'm making medium-sized samosas. So this is the size of my ball. Make sure you do pour lots of flour because you don't want it to stick to the surface. Whilst you are making your roti, make sure you've got your tawa, which is the pan what you heat the roti on. Make sure it is quite warm. You don't want to put your samosa roti onto a cold tawa, cold pan. Okay, you're gonna put the roti in only for a few seconds on either side. You don't want to overheat your roti. So you can see it bubbling away, and then you flip it over. Right, this is what my samosa rotis look like. Nice and bubbly. Okay, now I'm going to cut my rotis in half, and for me to do that I have to make sure all the rotis are in line like this. Don't cut them in one go, so cut a few at a time. You might find some rotis are a little bit bigger than others, but that doesn't matter. Try to place the biggest one on top. Okay, line up all your samosa sheets like this and put the glue in the sheets like this. This is a clever hack, and it will save you a hell of a lot of time in making the samosas. So put all the glue in on one side like this. Once you've done that, fold the samosa and turn it over and press it down, making sure it's pressed down very firmly. Okay, fold it down, press down like this. That's the second way of making the samosas. So you've got two ways of making the samosas. So it's entirely up to you how you make the samosas. I like the line in the middle. Okay, if I did the mincing, and now once I've added the mince, I put in my glue around the samosa like this. I don't like my samosas overfilled, so it's up to you how much filling you want put into your samosas. Now press it down. Once you've done that, you can press it down with a fork to really secure it. I've made a few vegetable samosas, so obviously when we freeze our samosas we have to differentiate the vegetables and the mince. And how would we do that? Well, this is a clever way. Add in some coloured powder. The colour that you use when you make yellow rice, mix it in with water, and you're just going to dip the points of the samosa into the colour. So now when you freeze it, you've got the colour in it. So now you can differentiate which is a vegetable and which is a mince. So all my veggies are going to have the colour on them like this. This is just to save confusion and makes life a lot easier rather than cooking them and then opening them and checking which one's which. So this is a clever hack. Okay, I've lined my freezer tray with baking proof paper, and I've put the samosas like this. So once I've laid all my samosas, I'm going to freeze them for an hour, exactly an hour. After an hour, I'm going to take them out and then reposition them in again. If you don't reposition them, they'll stick to one another. So when it is time to cook a samosa, all your samosas will be stuck together. So always, after an hour, take them out and move them about and then put them back in again. Okay, I fried my samosa and this is what my samosa looks like. Can you see the bubbles on the samosa? When you know you've got bubbles in this samosa, you know you have made a perfect samosa. And I can guarantee you this recipe was absolutely delicious. We enjoyed every moment of the samosa. So do try this recipe and I do hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much for watching Ambrine's Creations, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please give me a thumbs up for my video and do tell me what you thought about my video. It'll be lovely if you guys can recreate my samosa video, and I'd love to see all your creations that you make, and it's a very easy recipe to follow. So best of luck. I know you all can do it. Thank you for watching. Bye.